Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's video, the P's are going to be talking about a really important topic, and that is how to release limiting beliefs. Now, we have heard all of our spiritual teachers talk to us about how important it is for us to release our limiting beliefs. But a lot of people just don't really give us a lot of guidance on how to actually do that. One of those things it's easier to tell someone to do than to tell them how to actually do it. So in today's video, the P's are going to be giving us some guidance on how to actually do this. But before we jump into this very important topic, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. Now, what is one of the first things that you have been taught by your spiritual teachers? It is probably about the importance of releasing limiting beliefs. This is the most important work we have to do as lightworkers and starseeds. And why is that? It's because our beliefs determine our entire reality. They are the lens that we are looking through and creating through. They are the foundation of everything. We really can't do much in the way of creating anything in our life if it goes against our belief structure. So as you start to think about this, your beliefs become really important, and we have beliefs about everything. So one of the things that we start to hear more and more as we move through our awakening journey is the importance of releasing any beliefs that don't serve us, because our beliefs are going to create our reality without exception. So they become super important. But here's the interesting thing, y'all, as you start to examine your limiting beliefs. One thing you're going to notice is that almost all of them came from someone else. All those core things that we believe as humans that are just part of human experience came from someone else. Someone else told us life was hard. Someone told us that money didn't grow on trees. Someone told us we couldn't do what we wanted to do. So when you think back of some of those kind of core human beliefs, you realize you can probably hear your mom's voice saying most of them. So a lot of these we have picked up from our upbringing, from our family, from our parents. We heard our parents saying these things. We saw this reflected in the world around us. And so what happens over time is we start to buy into it because we see other people buy into it. And we see other people experiencing it. So why would we not think that that was reality? But what's really important for us to understand about our beliefs is we can change them anytime. But it can be a little tricky to do this. So we need to have a solid game plan in place for how to release our beliefs once we identify them. Because for a lot of us, we can identify what a lot of our negative beliefs are. Most of us have an issue with abundance. It shows up in some form or fashion. Most of us have bought into the belief that our bodies age and get sick. Hard to find a human on this planet who has not bought in to that belief structure. A lot of us have bought into the idea that we have to work for a living. That's a big one. We see that mirrored back from every corner of our reality. So once we start to identify what some of our limiting beliefs are, we want to move to the next step of starting to release them. And one of the things that a lot of us will try to do if we have been on the spiritual path for a while, we know the importance of things like affirmations, visualizations. And so a lot of us, once we have identified one of our limiting beliefs that we'd like to let go of, what happens is we try to think positive over the top of it. We start to affirm to ourselves, I am abundant, I am rich. But what happens? The first thing is that most of us will hear our ego mind popping up in the background and go, no, girl, no, you're not, right? We will hear the negating voice of the ego chiming in to say, oh, no, you're not, right? Most of us can see that happening almost instantly. So a lot of us will get stuck in a pattern where we are talking over our limiting belief, which does nothing to change it. If you've ever tried to start affirming what you want, when you are very aware you are living the opposite, you know it doesn't get you very far. So how do we actually shift some of these beliefs that are just so fundamental? I mean, it is hard to imagine a world where humans didn't get sick, where aging didn't exist. But as the Pleiadians like to say, this actually isn't energetic fact. This is just a collective story. So how do we change some of these beliefs that are so big We see them reflected back to us in every part of our life. No one seems to be immune to it. It affects everyone. How do we start to change those things? Well, the first thing we want to do is we have to get the ego mind out of the way, because one of the best ways to change a belief is to show our mind that it's wrong. Because our mind, for all of its limitations, doesn't hold on to something that is gibberish. And so one of the best ways that we can release a limiting belief is to work with the ego mind. Because if you have ever tried to push against something you believe, it's about as successful as pushing against a wall. You're just not going to get anywhere. But a much more successful approach is to start to show your mind how that belief doesn't make sense. Because as soon as you realize that something is gibberish, you let it go. Even the 3D ego mind doesn't hold on to nonsense. So how do we do that when something is everywhere in our reality? Well, one of the first things that can be helpful is to bring yourself back to your metaphysics, to how you understand reality works. Because one of the things that we have been taught on our spiritual path that we know now is that we create it all. So if we truly are the creator of everything, and everything is a reflection of our energy, then if there is any abundance in the world, we created it, right? That can be the only outcome. If everything is you, then all of the abundance out there was created by you. And we don't really have any doubt that abundance exists. We just have trouble bringing it into our personal experience. But as we start to come back to the fundamentals of our understanding of how reality works, we start to see the flaws in our limiting belief. So if you created everything and you're absolutely certain looking around at the world that abundance does exist on this planet, right? You see it in other people. You see examples of it in your world. So we don't really doubt that there is abundance. Somehow we just have that filter on that it's not ours, right? It's okay for other people to have it, but we don't have it. But if you have truly created everything, then you have created the abundance that other people have. There can't be any other explanation. It had to come from somewhere. And if everything is you, then you created it. Well, then you start to realize that if you've created all the abundance in the world, it's kind of silly that you couldn't bring some of that toward yourself. So as we start to think through our limiting belief and challenge it, ask it questions, because so much of what we do as humans is we just buy into our beliefs. We never challenge them. So you want to be a bit of a lawyer here. You want to cross-examine what you're buying into. Start to ask it some questions. Where did this story come from? Where did you get this belief? Is this actually true based on how reality works? Because what we start to see as we start to question our limiting beliefs is that after 3 or 4 questions, they start to look a little nonsensical. Because if everything is you, then all abundance is you. And then it's just a matter of allowing it into your experience. So it's only because someone told us that we weren't abundant that we took that belief and we ran with it. But if everything is you, that argument doesn't really hold up anymore. It becomes nonsense. And once something becomes nonsense, once it doesn't make sense anymore, it is really easy to let it go. And when you do that, you let it go forever. Because even your mind is like, oh yeah, I used to think that, but that does not make sense now that I think about it, right? And so once you can show your mind the flaws in the argument, you will find you let your beliefs go instantly because they just don't make sense anymore. And so we want to start coming back to what we know about reality, because what that does is it helps us see the flaws in our limiting belief. They just don't hold water anymore. It's like believing that there's a single timeline anymore. We know that's not how reality works. We know someone else can choose something different from what we choose. And so we start to get much more creative freedom. And as we do that, we start to let go of a lot of those very restrictive human storylines because they just don't make sense to our 5th dimensional minds anymore. But one of the things we have to be willing to do is question our beliefs, because it doesn't take long for you to realize that that belief doesn't really make sense to you anymore. And you're going to find then that it vanishes almost instantly. So this is something that the Pleiadians wanted to share with us because so few of us think to challenge our beliefs. We just think, oop, I have a belief, I'm stuck forever. But what we want to start to do is start to follow up on that. The days of blindly following information are over. It's a very dangerous way to navigate reality these days, as we are learning from the world around us. So we want to start taking back creative control by starting to question some of those beliefs that don't serve us anymore. Now, if the belief serves you, then run with it, right? It's working for you. But we want to get to the bottom of some of these false beliefs that have really enslaved the human experience. And the way we do that is we got to start challenging them, right? We got to follow it back, ask it questions until it just collapses. It just doesn't make sense anymore. So this is what the P's wanted to share with you in today's POV. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. And as always, if you need a little help with any of this stuff, click the link in the description to work with me one-on-one. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.